Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Morley.
And today we are joined by mystical coach of oneness, Gregoire Bosc, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Greg.
Thank
How are you?
Me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, everything's good. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we're flowing through life. The topic that you wanted to discuss today, paradoxes. I'd love for you to just kind of jump right in and tell us why you chose this topic.
This is something I've been in touch for quite some time, but like during the last year and a half or so, I really start seeing how like those paradoxes are a good sign. Like when you're able to catch the paradoxal nature of something is a good sign for me. Like it tells me like I can see both ends of the spectrum, and now I'm in that phase of discerning and finding balance between them. And so it's something that I like very much, and that I see also in some people like trying to understand and that are new to this path, and that are like, yeah, but I'm trying, but when I'm getting there, and that just bouncing back, like, you know, this pendulum swing stuff. And so, yeah.
We were just talking before this podcast, you know, Ellie was like, what do you exactly mean by paradoxes? And the first thing that came to mind was exactly what you said there. Oh, well, you know, when you like you want to heal and you try to start healing, and then you have to learn to surrender, which is to not try to do anything, which is such a paradox because you really want to heal and you really want to, you want to do this thing. But as soon as you take that step forward, the next step is to not do anything. How does that make sense? Like, I came here to heal and you want me to do nothing?
Yeah, or even to relax and let loose this willingness, not the willingness, but the contraction of wanting. And so for that example, it's beautiful because if you want to surrender to what you're invited to become on this path, you will have to meet all your resistances. And that's where those paradox, like in that very example, this is where the paradox is coming out. Is for me to know what surrender is, I need to go full on throughout all of my resistances. Because actually the resistances are what are teaching me and initiating me to new level of surrender.
Yeah, it's so beautiful because, and I think that resistance, I mean, I think I could speak for the three of us. Wow, what a program, and how much you didn't even know it plays out. And, you know, I think that in our entire existence, we're in resistance because no one's teaching us how to process or feel anything. And so, of course, when pain comes up, when nobody's teaching you how to process anything, we're going to resist what's coming up. And so, for me, especially like when I was going through some of my really darkest nights of the soul, like, oh my God, the fight that I would put up for not allowing this to flow through. And then it wasn't until I was in like the middle of this raging battle with all of this terror that I was like, what am I doing right now? I'm fighting so hard, and in the fighting, I'm suffering because I'm not allowing this thing to just be. And the moment that I brought the way of surrender in, yes, it was painful, but I didn't die. and I just allowed it to flow through. And it was like, it was as if every program went dead silent. All the resistance, all the mental like chatter that was going on, all of the weapons I had in this battle just fell and disappeared into the wayside. And then all of a sudden, I was just in complete surrender and in complete flow. And then I felt powerful as I was moving through all of the things that was asking for me to just be in surrender with. And so I really resonate with that. And I think a lot of people out there, like, they really, really battle with resistance when the actual answer is surrender to the resistance. And I think, Greg, this is something that you've talked about a lot. I've seen you coach people on this a lot, because I think you're a master at resistance and you can really catch it fast in others when they're running it. But I'd love for you to go into why this program of resistance, what you have felt in yourself and in others, why it's so large and is so powerful.
So first of all, for me, this is a teacher. Resistance is a teacher. So it's there for a reason. So obviously we've been conditioned to burrow our pain, to act differently than what's hide, and act differently that's what's really happening within. So we've been taught you need to be strong, toughen up, swallow those emotions. And so there is resistance linked to that, definitely. But there is also a part of resistance that is just fear-based, that can be fear-based, that can be from nervous system response to, like, deep freeze response. And I think it's natural to some extent that even if we remove the conditioning and that you ask a kid, for example, to jump from a cliff, and the height is impressive, so he will have to go through that fear and the resistance of actually doing what he would like to do, or if he sees his friend jump and he decide, like, I want to do that, he will have to go through all that layer of resistance. And the resistance can take like different shapes and forms and can come from so many different places. But but the common aspect of it is our inability, like a compulsive habit, not to feel what's within. That's my catch on resistance. And usually the paradoxal stuff is that when we know a bit, or when new students are learning this work, they will meet resistance and think, I'm failing at connecting to my heart. I'm failing at doing this work. Most of the time, they will associate the resistance with failing, because in that resistance, a lot of mental programs arise, of course. But actually, it's when you realize that, oh, this resistance is a teacher, that I need the resistance to allow the resistance to be there too, and I need to level up my skills to see it and be there with the resistance. And that's exactly what teaches me to get into surrender.
Yeah, most people, myself included, resist the resistance when we approach it, when we're going in, and for whatever reason, and this will change person to person, for whatever reason we're choosing to resist in that moment, we then start resisting that feeling of resistance, and it keeps us trapped. And that's the program doing its job. Instead of arriving at the resistance and then continuing to open, we get lost in it, because that's all we've ever done, is learn how to close and hold and resist and force and push away. And obviously this work, when we're going deeper and deeper inwards and we're tapping more into the parts of us that we maybe don't want to look at first because we haven't found that power yet, we're inevitably going to meet resistance. So I'd love, Greg, for you to just bring this back round to, like the paradox of meeting resistance and what we need to do with it when we meet it.
So exactly, just as you were saying, most like a common reflex is to, when we meet resistance, is to react with resistance. So we are feeding now the resistance with more resistance, and that is never ending. So when we begin that work, the first thing that we get aware of is that, oh, actually, I'm feeding my anger with more anger. I'm feeding my fear with more fear. I'm feeding my emotion with so much actually violence, force. And so in the case of resistance, it's really allowing us to feel, to first acknowledge that what's here is there for a reason, and maybe we're not knowing what reason yet, but this is by really tapping into and feeling into it and getting deep into the feelings, into the wisdom actually of life going through our bodies, and that has now the shape and form of resistance, that all this will unfold and that will meet all the teachings that we have to go through that are waiting for us in that inside.
Beautiful. And I like you use the word there, feeding. And I feel like I've done this a lot. Like I feed one end of that polarity, where you mentioned earlier about how in this paradox, we normally have like these two sides. And when I'm able to stay centered in the middle of it, and this is something that you were actually guiding me through a couple of weeks ago in a session, of like being able to feel both sides of what it is I'm experiencing and then find that middle ground. And, I see this in Rachel's teachings all of the time, where it's, okay, connect to your light. Beautiful. Now connect to the pain and the darkness. Now find the bridge. And when we're able to do that, like those two polarities collapse, and we are that center. It can just be really difficult when all we've learned is to not connect to the center, and we go from, in duality, from one polarity to another. And I've done this throughout my whole life of like, oh, I'm experiencing things which are really good right now. And then I'll flip flop, and then it will go really bad. And then all of that energy will just feed into the emotion, whether it be good that we label, right, or whether it's something we label as negative or bad, and just feeding the emotion. And for the last few years, it's been this centering effect that I've been going through, trying to stay more centered within myself and be at peace. And I'm more able to do this now in my heart, of being at peace, being centered there, and feeling the negative, or so-called negative emotion of, say, resistance or shame or whatever it is, I'm working through.
Beautiful. And this actually brings me to another aspect of that polarity, which is that we want to do this work because we want to get rid of our wounds, right? This is the first thing. Like, we want to heal. We want to get rid of our wounds. And the paradox is that you won't be able to get rid of your wounds until you completely collapse this idea of getting rid of it. It's by totally allowing to meet what is, like the truth of what is. So, and resistance is that also, is like me not being able to really open up and be sincerely, and when I call sincerely, it's at the bottom of the energetics within our bodies. What we learn here at Master of Self is really becoming so open that actually to for those wounds to heal, they need us to be so loving, which is never like wanting anything to disappear or to fuck off or to get rid of. So there is also this paradox right there, you know, that I need to fully open up and love my wounds, because this is what will ultimately heal and alchemize them. And so, yeah, this is like everywhere in the nature of this work. There is those paradoxes.
Yeah, and for everyone listening, just feel into the energies of this. I want to get rid of my pain versus I welcome in my pain with open arms. And which one do you think is going to transform the pain and allow the pain to actually feel safe and feel seen and allow spaciousness for it to come up and rise? The energy that wants to get rid of things, or the energy that's allowing and has spaciousness? And obviously it's the latter. Like when we're able to create that space within ourselves and not want to get rid of the pain, naturally it will allow it to start rising up. And alchemy takes place not getting rid of anything, but more about, you know, transforming it and embracing it for what it is. But that is such a paradox that everyone walking this path must go through.
I was just going to say that I think it's a very necessary step for everybody. I remember I had a client who was like, she does the work so diligently, and she was like, this morning I just wanted to get rid of it, so I just kept opening. And she was like, and then I realized what I was doing. And I was like, yeah. And I'll give a perfect example. This morning I woke up with like a lot of depression, really hit me hard this morning. And when depression hits me, it's usually like I'll get lost in it really fast. And then this morning I was like, okay, let's open to it. And I quickly felt this part of me that wanted to open so I didn't have to feel it. And I quickly caught myself and I was like, no, we got to do the dance 2 in 1 right now, which is we have to allow it. We have to feel everything that's in here. That's what it means to honor it. But it doesn't mean we close while we do. And so as I opened and as I allowed everything to flow through, I got to a place of, peace. And that's the magic of this work too, is really seeing and understanding and feeling subtle energies. You could quickly get lost in well, I just want to get rid of it. And oh my God, it's gone. I feel great. And then the energy of, oh, let me just open and let me allow it to flow through, even though this is really painful. And that's what true alchemy is. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's levels to this, which I've found of getting rid of pain or alchemy. And there's one thing to say, oh yeah, okay, I don't want to get rid of my pain anymore. And there's another thing to actually have that internal shift. And those internal shifts, for me, it hasn't just been one, it's been many layers. And I'm actually going through another layer of it right now, I would say over the last month. And this is something that comes up a lot in the forums that we have. And I hyper focus on this work. There's this obsession that I have about doing this work. And Ellie and I are always like talking about how we have like opposite programming when it comes to avoidance, that I avoid in very different ways. And my way of avoiding is to try and get rid of the pain. And that's like, this is putting words to what it is that I've been trying to explain. It's like, I can feel within myself this obsession to do with the work. Ellie always glorifies me for it. I'm like, it's not what you think. I'm not doing it truly wholeheartedly from this place of, I mean, I do just want to heal and evolve, but it's coming from that place of powerlessness. It's coming from that place of, I don't like what I'm experiencing 24/7 in my life when I'm awake. And therefore I feel like I have to do this work so much because I've not arrived at this place of being in surrender. I just wanted to get rid of what frequencies I'm feeling because they weren't particularly enjoyable to me. And, that's part of the teaching, is this is what it feels like to be at this frequency and feel these vibrations. And the way out of it is not to try and make it go away. It's to actually be okay with them being there. And that's an internal shift that we all take in, I believe, many layers.
Yeah, definitely. And also this habit of being goal oriented, while actually everything is happening during the process. It's not like when I be there. No, like all the teachings are happening on the journey, during the process of feeling what you need to feel. And we have a tendency to think like, especially at the start of this work, like to think like, for example, yeah, when I be done with the program, with the 3 months program, I be healed and I be the other side of the tunnel. No. It's really training you that actually the process is awakening to the beauty of the process. And as I'm saying that, I'm just reminding myself that Rachel just dropped a podcast about ascension is actually a descent, another paradox, that actually ascension is that descent. And being a human is that descent. Like, it's like we are, something we say a lot is we are spiritual being having a human experience. So yes, I'm not this body. I'm this divine spiritual energy. But at the same time, it's throughout this body that I can make all the experience of and bring down all the characteristic of this divine energy. Whereas it could be, oh, I'm not that body, fuck the body, and oh, I'm not my wounds, fuck my wounds. And it's actually the other way around, is how it's like, the way I see it, really, it's an initiation, an ongoing initiation. But we've been asked to be able to tap in the initiation. We've been trained and conditioned to block the initiations of life. We locked those initiations within ourselves by not being able to access the depth of what we need to feel and go through to unpack those initiations. And so, yeah, awakening and ascending is a descent of that reality of who we are, that spiritual being, and getting down in the very basement of all the aspects of humanity, even the darkest ones.
Yeah, when Rachel first mentioned that, I think it was in a class, mystical life coach certification class that Greg and I were in. And it just immediately, as soon as she started teaching about it, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes so much sense. That's exactly how I see it. I see it as like two lines going like equally up and equally down. If you was to think of like a scale of light to dark, and we're right in the middle, like the further we can go down into the darkness, the further we can go into the light, and vice versa. And I guess to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, like the problem is if we get lost in one of those polarities, if we just go down into the darkness and we get lost there and we forget who we are, and we forget that we are this soul having this human experience, and then that darkness can take over a soul, and we can forget that we are the light as well.
Yeah, and from that dark place we can go and get into spirituality, for example, and totally dismiss all the human aspect of our experience and try to flee out back in the spiritual realm, but denying everything that we came down here to do. So this is, and we can bounce back, and this for sure will bounce us back deep into the dark hours at some point. And yeah,
my journey has definitely been that, where 2018 I like went down into that like dark, what felt like the darkness, the very dark night of the soul for a couple of years, and it caused a huge awakening in me. and I started searching for the answers, but then I flip-flopped and did the polarity, and then I went all into this like super spiritualism for a number of years. Like you know, everything is connected, and everything means something spiritual, and you know, all love and light, but I wasn't anchored into the humanness. And over the last couple of years has been, you know, finding that balance by doing this work, listening to Rachel's teachings and integrating them, of course. And it's taken time, but even now I'm still finding aspects of me that were stuck in that like light spiritual programming that weren't looking at like the reality, which is, hey, I still need to, like, you know, do these things to live in this reality, to pay my bills, to put food on the table. And I can't just live in this, oh well, it's gonna happen, like all love and light, all positive vibes. It's like, no, I have to anchor into what it means to be a human as well. And there I'm seeing like a totally different place to live.
Yeah, I mean, I think I did that for years where I was like, oh, I'll just manifest, but I won't take any necessary action steps to actually manifest what I want. So I'd be sitting there, I'm like drowning in debt, but I'd be like, oh, but like $10,000 is going to come to me, like, because that's what they said. And it's like, how toxic is that? And how disabling is that? And it doesn't say anything about actually doing any work or becoming anything. Um, and I think I really feel as if we're moving out of that era in the spiritual world of like the love and light, because people are seeing how toxic it actually is, and really getting to a place now where people are like, oh no, in order for me to become more of the light, I have to go deeper into the darkness. And so, I haven't listened to that podcast episode yet, but holy shit, that kind of blows my mind of, as we ascend, we descend. So we become more, okay, so do it in layman terms. So as we become more of the light means we're going deeper into the darkness because we're becoming more powerful.
It's for us to become more light. We need to bring that light on all the darkness that is there and raise the frequency of that darkness with the vibration of the light that we are. So anything that's wounded in there, that is stuck in limiting beliefs such as I'm powerless, I'm little, and whatever is in there, we need to shine the light on it first, because we need to first acknowledge that it's there, and then remind it like it's. So the way I see it is that all those wounds, all those limiting beliefs are scattered parts of that divine light that at some point, at some moment in time during our human journey, we had to, during a violent moment, got dissociated from. So we had to compromise the connection in some ways to this divinity that we are. As kids, we're innocent and fully connected to that light. But we are growing up, we're being taught that no, you're expected to be like this. You're expected to be silent, and now we start putting some aspect of that light in boxes. That, oh, there is no place for that. Actually, or big traumatic event happens, and there is so much emotion, and we don't know how to process it. So we need to lock this up so we can still find a safe way to cope. And then the process that we are teaching is really bringing the light down there on all those parts so they can be reunited in oneness in the light, into the light.
Yeah, because if I turn away from any aspect of myself that is maybe what we would call darker or negative, then I'm closing myself off from that. And to go deeper into your question, Al, if I was truly in my power and I was truly ascending or elevating, I can only get there by allowing myself to go all the way into that pain and that darkness and still remember that I am the light. And when I do that again and again and again, I have the capacity to go deeper and deeper and deeper, or lower and lower and lower into the darkness and still remember that I am the light. And when we do that again and again and again, going deeper and deeper and deeper, it's creating oneness. We're not in separation to any aspect of ourselves. We're not in separation to any part of us that's quote unquote negative or bad or dark or wrong. We fully integrated all of those darker parts of us by remaining connected to the light and being okay with the dark. So it's about that the more we go up, the more we have the ability to go down and still remain connected to the deepest part of us, the light that we are. And this is why, you know, light, love always wins, because it has power, whereas darkness doesn't. It or those darker attributes of ourselves, they need something. And so when we're able to give that light to those parts of us, that's what allows us to heal and elevate. And so it's both a simultaneous process of us going up and us being able to go down. It doesn't mean we're going to stay, you know, down, but we have the capacity, especially as coaches, to be able to go into the darkness of the people that we work with and remain connected to our light, ourselves, the truest aspect of us. And if we don't, then we can't guide our clients there. And this is why, you know, we do the work so diligently, is so we can effectively guide clients into those places that they might not be the exact places we've been. You know, everyone has their own unique wounds and programs. But if I vibrationally can raise my frequency to go into that level of depth within another, within shame, let's say, I can guide somebody else to do that for their own unique programming. And that's what it's all about. And when we're able to do that and still then remain connected to who we are and not get lost in that darkness, then that allows the integration process to happen.
So around last year, around this time, I was going through a lot and I was moving through a lot of fear. And the fear was to the point where I was like, I was in bed for hours and hours at a time during the day because it was like just completely annihilating me. And I get this message from Rachel, and I'm sorry if I'm misquoting this. And if I am, I apologize. But she said basically to me that once you move through the fear, you'll see that at the other side of the fear there was only ever light. And it brought me so much relief, and I realized that I was going into the fear not fully connected to my light because I was allowing the fear to completely swallow me alive. And you know, Rachel does this teaching she gave recently where she says, don't face your fears. She's like, why would you ever do that? And I was like, what do you mean? We have to face our fear. And she's like, why would you face your fears when you're not connected to your light? When you're connected to your divinity, then you go and you quote unquote face your fears because now you can. And so I realized that what I was doing last year was I was going into the fear, but I wasn't connected, which allowed me to get swallowed and wrapped up and just drowning in it. And the moment I connected and I allowed the fear to just flow through, I was like, oh, this is what it is. This is what she means by that. And I think that's the biggest issue that most people have. I got an Instagram DM from this woman today, and she basically was like, I dissociate and I avoid so much. And then she, you know, she has all these labels. She's like, you know, and I'm an introvert and I'm a slow mover and I'm all this. And she's like, so I have this checklist that, you know what, if I don't get it done in this life, I'll come back the next life and do it. And I was like, oh my God, the powerlessness, you know, that we all have because nobody knows how to connect to their power. And so they don't know how to move through their stuff. And I think that's why, and I know that that's why this work is so pivotal. I mean, Greg, you too, you're someone who's tried everything and has come to this work and know that this is the work that's actually going to heal and transform people. And what I said to her was like, you're simply just not connected to your divinity when you're going into these things. When you're connected to the truth and the light of what you are and who you are, you can go into anything and ignite it. you know? And her response was like, she couldn't fully process or understand that, because how can you when you've not fully experienced what it means to be connected to the truth of you? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a gradual embodiment process. This is what we teach. So, like, even trying to understand that from the mind is doomed. But yeah, it's interesting what you said, because I realized that earlier during the call I was saying like resistance is the teacher, but actually what resistance and everything start teaching you while you're connected to your power. It's by being connected to your power and going into fear, let's say, that I'm transmuting fear into courage, and that this fear is teaching me what it means to be brave, because going through it anchored in my power, not being completely so much absorbed by the fear that now I'm just in a closed loop, feeding fear into the fear.
Yeah, and that's where you will get completely lost, when you are feeding fear into fear. And then, you know, I think for people at home too, you can listen to this and you're so right, Greg. Like anything that goes through the mind, if you conceptually understand something, but you don't experience it or embody it. I remember I was on this woman's panel and it was all about embodiment. And people were all talking about, like, oh, and what does embodiment mean to you? It means moving your body. It means being sexual. It means being all of this. And when it came to me, I was like, no, it's about embodying the wisdom that, embodying the knowledge that you are learning, which is, how does it become wisdom? Well, you become it. You do it. You learn from it. And once you experience it, you will understand what it actually means to move through fear, connect to the light that you are. But you can't do it from your mind. It has to come from your heart, and you have to experience it through there. So yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one for people to get.
And this embodiment is gradual. This is super important. Like, I will go, the first experience I will have with dealing with my fear, I went throughout some extent of the fear, and so I experienced certain degree of courage, but then layers and layers after, I'm like, oh, actually this is a discovery process in the becoming process of, wow, actually I was like so many, like we are caught up there, you know, in the head, in the mind. So a lot of things we've read and we know from the top, and we think, yeah, sure. And that's why it's so gross, like, to speak about the work that we do, because sometimes, yeah, I've heard that it's like to be in your heart and to shine the light on the darkness. Yes, of course, I've read that many times. But what about, you know, being guided to really step by step, really gradually experience what that means, what that implicates, what that requires.
Yeah, and one of the things that it requires is somebody who's actually done it. And that's a lot of, I feel like, what we see in the world is a lot of people just talking about spirituality and healing, and they haven't fully experienced what that means. And obviously this is a path that we're all learning, right? We're all learning how to, as you said, Greg, that gradual process of opening and integrating an actual connection. And it's for a number of years before I found Rachel, I realized that there was no one out there teaching the how. Everyone was teaching what I needed to do. I needed to become more loving for myself. Great. Okay, I need to become more compassionate. Great. Okay. How do I do that? I know I need to surrender, but how do I actually do that? And it wasn't until I found Rachel that I found the steps to actually follow. And I realized after starting the work, it's like, oh, it's because all these other people, they might necessarily not be there. They've read about it in maybe spiritual texts, but they might not be at a level where they're ready to teach people how to actually connect to their heart and go through that process of step by step, gradually embodying the work.
Yeah, actually what's happening is that this means something for everyone. And so that becomes tricky when we communicate through words, because, okay, so let's say one guy has his own experience of what it means to be loving. And it can be, I look myself every morning in the mirror and I'm telling you, got this, dude, we're going to make it today. And then I take my cold bath and I groom my hair and I bath myself with a nice cacao flavor. And that's great. What I mean is that that's a degree of self-love and being like, this is, but that's a level of it, that's just a level of it. And then you got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper levels. So someone just read it and that's at that level. And because he understood it from that level up there, and just like, yeah, I got it now. I just got to be love and light, and everything that's not love and light, go away, and I keep it there, like, oh, no, I'm love and light, but actually, there's just a very surface layer of understanding of what that means. And yeah, it's tricky. Even to guide, like, this becomes like really what I love about this work, because how to really transmit those deeper inward experiences to a client, like, no, this is not love right there. You need to connect deeper and face everything that's there and open up. Like, as long as there is this will of getting over it, of destroying it, of it to disappear, this is not loving yourself and what's there, And so, and guiding people to really feel that. And what is beautiful is that even like you see it when there is this shift, you see it on people's face and aura. Like, and I'm not seeing auras. It's not like I'm seeing everybody's auras and it's like you see it, like the people are radiating.
Yeah, and you can feel it. I remember it was maybe 2 weeks ago in the certification process, one of our students just showed up. She was just radiating. I was like, wow, like you can feel her. You could feel that something big had shifted within her, and her energy was different. Like she was radiating. It's more than just, it's part of it. There's a physical smile that obviously can accompany that. It's more than that. It's like, it's something that you feel from somebody, and we're all energetic beings. And I feel like we all feel each other. It's just a lot of us aren't aware that we're doing that. Like, and that's part of what we awaken in this work, is you start awakening to your ability to feel into other people, especially as coaches, of course, like that's our job, but it translates into every facet of your life. And I realize now, the more and more that I do this work, I'm like, oh, I remember feeling this thing from this person when I was 13 years old, let's say, and I was feeling it then. I just wasn't aware of what it was I was feeling, because my consciousness was so like narrowed, because I was closed. I was a teen, I'd been through at 13, you go through life and you learn it's not safe and I need to close, and all these different, programs and wounds that we collect over the course of our upbringing. But yeah, it's all there for us to feel. And the more that we open and, decode and deprogram ourselves, we get to see, oh, okay, that's what this thing means. That's what this thing that I'm feeling. I felt this from this person my whole life. That's what it is. And I'm fascinated to see, how far it goes. I know, like, having some conversations with Rachel, she's able to like be around people and feel all this just myriad of different energies and be like, oh, this is the energy that I feel of like an alcoholic versus this is somebody who smokes a lot of weed, and like just the subtleties in what she's able to feel and translate and interpret through her physical body is just, just out of this world to where I'm at right now, which is so cool, and just so much to evolve into.
Yeah, it's so cool. And that's an exciting part of this path, I think, to know that, oh, that's available for us and that's something that we can achieve. And I think, you guys both said it perfectly. Just because you do a 3-month program, it ain't a quick fix. I was talking to Danny the other day and we were talking about a past client, and this past client just really wanted this 3-month program to just be the end all be all. He really thought once he started this and he ended it, he was going to be fully healed. And Danny, I think, responded with something like, well, this is awakening for real, and awakening for real doesn't happen in 3 months. And what's so phenomenal about this program is that it gives you everything you need to go on the path of however long it takes. Like, don't get attached to however long it's going to take for you to do what your soul came here to do and achieve. That's something that I have to remind myself. Like, it's okay. Just keep going. Just keep going. So yeah, I appreciate both of you guys. Is there anything that you guys want to close off with as we end this episode? Said it. Beautiful. Beautiful. If anybody out there wants to work with Greg, Danny, or any of our amazing mystical coaches of oneness, set up a free consultation with us at masterselfuniversity.com. Join our group class. Gregoire just finished 3-month group class. How was it, Greg?
That was amazing.
It was amazing. And all I hear from that class is it's amazing. So that's awesome.
So it's such beautiful souls, and to be so this is what I want to add actually. After you said like these 3 months coaching programs, there's so much transformation also already that is happening to each one of them, and then we guide them to own a very useful tool about like how to go about everything we're speaking and teaching on their own. So that's such a beautiful gift, That's such a beautiful gift. To see people shifting and being able to feel, sometimes for the first time, that oh, actually I'm so powerful. I've been running away from myself and from all this pain forever, and for the first time I went through it, and I went through it so beautifully and so full on that the way it pays, like what I experience, what is being revealed of who I truly am past that experience is amazing.
Yeah, wonderful. I think someone from your class said when she dropped in, it scared her how much her heart was open and like what she accessed. And I was like, that's it. And that's all you. And it makes me want to cry. So beautiful. So yeah, if you guys want to join a group class, it's an incredible experience. Set up a free consultation with us. We will be starting the next group class at the end of July. So please come on in and check out Rachel's book, The 20 Universal Ways of Oneness, and join our free Discord community. This is where the coaches are, clients are, people who are interested in the work, just for a place to share and be a part of. And like, subscribe, comment, and share this episode with anyone that you think will benefit from hearing it. And till then, thank you guys so much for being here with me. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye. Bye. See you.